All right, so a few months ago, I was contacted by a tool manager, and he was asking me, is there a way to automate the process of inputting information into Notion, specifically with regard to my tour template? And at the time, I told him, like, look, there is a possibility to do this with automation software like Zapier, with Make, or NA10 even, but you need to be technically savvy, and there's obviously a few things that can go wrong if anything changes. It requires a little bit of oversight. And this is generally the case with almost all automations. As they scale in complexity, you've got to really be careful. If any one little thing changes, it can break the whole flow. So I kind of told him this, and this wasn't really the answer that he was looking for. And quite frankly, it wasn't the answer that I really wanted to give, because I'm all about trying to solve these problems for artists specifically. And using Notion as a tool to help do this has been something that I've been focused on. So what I'm happy to announce is that quite recently, there is a solution. It is very elegant, it is completely free, and it absolutely rocks. And this solution is using MCP servers. Now, if you've been on any social media platform in the last few months, you may have actually heard about MCP servers, and they were very hyped a couple months ago. And so I'm a little bit late to the party with doing this video, but what I can say now is that they've stabilized in a way that they are very useful. And in fact, I use an MCP server with Notion every single day. And what I want to walk you guys through today is a little bit of an MCP Server masterclass as it specifically relates to Notion, because there's two different ways that you can set up an MCP server with Notion. I want to show you guys how to do this. I want to show you what is possible with this, and why, if you're using any of my templates or any sort of Notion system yourself, this is going to be a huge productivity unlock for you, because it really is actually insane. So before we dive in, I just want to give you a quick walkthrough of exactly what an MCP server actually is. And quite simply, it is just a way of giving context to an AI model so that it can actually use an app, or it can engage with local files on your computer, or even remote databases. So the important thing here is that it differs from an API, because if you were to imagine just querying Claude or ChatGPT and just saying, hey, create this thing on my Notion page, it doesn't understand exactly what is possible with Notion, like how to create stuff, what is the database schema. And I know that a lot of you are not going to be necessarily technically savvy, but that does not matter. All you need to understand is the MCP server is providing a packet of information or context which allows the AI to read this and go, okay, within Notion, I'm actually able to create, edit, delete, all of this kind of stuff, and here is how I can do it. Now, for this reason, MCP servers can be used with many different apps, and in fact, most apps now, whether it's Slack, Webflow, Figma, you name it, they've all actually built their own MCP servers so that you can use your AI to interact with them. Now, for a lot of these different apps, they can be a little bit clunky. They're not delivering human-grade output yet. For example, if you're using Figma and you want to make a design, it doesn't rock. But for automating repetitive tasks, it is really good. And this is how I use it with Notion all the time. So the way that this works is you have your AI model and you put in a prompt to create a new database in your Notion page, for example. That is then going to send a request through the MCP server, which is then giving the context to the AI model about exactly what is possible, and then it performs the task within the app, and then we see a return of data, and then we get a response back to the AI saying, yep, I've actually done this, and that is what you read. And we're going to see this specifically with the Claude example, where you can see the thinking, and it goes through the process of all the steps, rather. It goes through all the different steps to create what it needs to create, or to fulfill whatever function you've asked it to do. This is at a high level exactly what's going on. If you don't fully understand this, that is totally fine. You don't really need to, but I just think it's valuable, because for a long time I was confused about what the difference is between an MCP server and an API. Is it not just the AI interacting with the app through an API? And essentially, yes, but the MCP server is providing the information so the AI knows what is possible within that app and what it can do. So as I mentioned, there are two different ways of connecting with the Notion MCP server. The first is with OAuth, and the second is a custom integration. Now, what you need to understand is they both have pros and cons. Obviously, with OAuth, it is very easy to set up, and it's fast, and you can actually use it from a mobile device. However, if you have multiple workspaces, you're not currently able to connect the MCP server across multiple workspaces. It's just going to show up as a one connection. So if you're like me and you've got a lot of stuff going on and a lot of different workspaces and you want to have a bit more granular control, this is where the custom integration comes in. And this will be the second one which we look at because it's a little bit more complex to get going. But essentially this allows you to select what pages that you want the MCP server to be able to interact with. And of course it can work across multiple accounts. So the first process that we're going to go through is connecting Notion to ChatGPT and Claude using OAuth. And it's pretty fast and straightforward. And so let me show you how that is done. We want to just open up Notion here. I'm using the desktop app, but you can do this from within the browser as well. And you want to just come to the settings of your workspace and then down here where you will see connections. Clicking on this, you can see that we have a nice little box here for Notion MCP. And if we come and look in here, you can see that Notion has preferential support for ChatGPT, Claude, and Cursor. Today, we're going to just be looking at these two. And to get things started, let's just connect ChatGPT. So this will open up a browser window here, and we just need to click on Connect. Read through these. Yes, I'm all happy with that. So let's continue to Notion. And now ChatGPT is just going to send us a confirmation email, which should arrive any second. And we'll pop that in here. Great. So let's put that in and continue. Awesome. So we're going to follow through here. You just want to make sure that you've got the correct workspace selected here. As you can see, there's a few different options. So whatever you're logged into in your browser is going to be what is showing up here. So this is the one we want to connect to. So let's just go continue. Awesome. Notion is connected. And then if you want to disconnect at any time, you can just do that from within here. Now, before we give this a demo, let's just go and connect Claude as well, because what I want to show you guys is why Claude is just so much better. Not to say that ChatGPT can't be good for some things, but at least in all of my experience and trials, it just has never delivered the way that Claude does. So let's close that and we come back here and let's connect Claude. So again, this is going to open up a browser window. What I like about Claude is that it actually gives you a breakdown of exactly what the tools are that the MCP server enables the AI to actually do. What's cool is you can actually toggle these on and off. And so if we go through and connect here, you will see what I mean. Again, let's just choose the workspace. That one is correct. We come through and continue. All right, so let's try these two models out with the same task. If we come back to the Notion workspace here, you can see that I've got one of my tour templates in this workspace. And what we should try is just add in a new tour. So here within Claude, we are going to write a prompt, which is create a demo tour in the tours database. So I'm going to just put this like that, and we're going to copy this, and we're going to just double check to make sure that Notion is selected. Yes, it is. And in a perfect world, we should be able to just fire this off and it's going to figure it out. Now, while that's cooking, we come back to ChatGPT and we will try the same thing. Now, the difference with ChatGPT is you actually need to select that you want to use a connected app. And as you can see here, Notion is selected, and we're going to try it in there and see how this goes. And if this behaves in the same way that it's behaved every other time, ChatGPT is going to sit here for 3 or 4 minutes thinking it's going to have a crack, and it's going to just make me the data which it says that I have to manually input. Now, for whatever reason, even after I've been trying to prompt it, it just doesn't seem to fully understand that it can control Notion itself. So maybe I'm just not being specific enough with my prompts, or maybe I've completely missed something, but everything that I could find online, this seemed to be the way that it works, and it should just work, but for whatever reason, it's not working for me. And it also takes a long time. If we come back to Claude here, we can see that we're going to always allow it to do what we want it to do. Let's read through what it's doing here. So I'll help you find the demo tour in your tours database. Great. It actually queries, it has a look. Great. It's found the tours database, which is awesome. It's a comprehensive system for managing music tours. Yes, indeed it is. And let me create a demo entry for you. Cool. So it does that in Markdown. That's fabulous. Excellent. I've created the demo tour. Here's what has been added. Awesome. Now, what we want to do is come back to Notion and see, has that actually worked? And if we come back here, usually there can be a little bit of a delay, but if we come here and we come back to this page, wowee, what do you know? It has just made demo content for us. So The first time I saw this happen, it blew my mind because it was now an opportunity for me to quickly add demo content to the templates which I create, which is essential to know that everything's working. That was like the first use case I had. But the second one that dawned on me was, hey, this means I can put a PDF into Claude and I can say, hey, add all of this flight information to the flights database, which is what we're going to do next. Let's come back to Claude and let's say, please add a start and end date for this tour, which is next week. And we will let that cook. And coming back here, yeah, ChatGPT has just completely fumbled it. And this is what it does for me every time. So maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe it's because it says this is still beta. Maybe they haven't figured it out. But the one thing which I think is happening is that Anthropic, who are the creators of Claude, were the ones who have actually created the model context protocol. They've defined the standard. And I know that they were working quite a lot closer with Notion, which is maybe why they've managed to figure this whole thing out. But when I'm using Claude with Notion, it is like pretty much flawless every single time. All right, it's set a start and an end date, 1 week, boom, boom, boom. If we come back here, now it's looking a little bit more alive. It's put in all of that information for us. So good. As you can see, we are using both Claude and ChatGPT within the browser. And this works fine if you have just got one workspace. If you've just got one Notion set up and you only need to be accessing files in one place, totally fine. What I want to show you guys next is how to actually do a setup where the MCP server is running locally on your computer. And this works with Claude desktop app. And you are then able to come up here and actually adjust the connections, and on a page by page or database by database basis, actually choose what you want the AI to be able to track and change and edit and all of that kind of stuff. This is the way that I use the Notion MCP with Claude desktop most of the time, because it also reduces the amount of time that it has to think. Because especially in my Thorn Labs workspace, I have got so many pages and templates and databases, a lot of them with the same name, that if I was to just let Claude loose through the OAuth integration, it's not going to choose the correct database that I'm trying to edit. Let's have a look at how to set this up. It's a little bit technical, but it's not complicated. I'm just going to walk you guys through this step by step. So the first thing you're going to want to do is download Node.js. And you can do this by just Googling Node.js download, and you're going to come to this web page here. I'll put this in the description as well. And then you just come here and you just choose whatever your operating system is, and you download the installer. Now, I've already gone through and installed this, but it's super straightforward. Once you've got the installer, you just open it, you run it, and it's going to set this up on your computer. Nothing else you need to worry about there. This is just important because this is what the MCP server is actually going to be using in order to actually run locally on your system. So the next thing we want to do is come to Notion and actually create a custom integration. If you're unsure of how to get to this page, you can do it from within Notion itself. You just come here, you go to settings. If you come to connections and you scroll down, you can see this button here, develop or manage integrations. If you click on that, it's going to take you to this same web page. But as we already are there, I'm going to just continue with it here. Now, as you can see in this workspace, or in this account rather, I have already got 2 integrations set up. So we're going to just make a new one for the purpose of this demonstration. And you just come here. The first thing you want to do is choose a name. So we're going to call this YouTube Demo All Access. I personally like to put on what the permissions are so that when I'm actually selecting it within Notion itself, I know if it has God mode access to my system or if it's just read only, for example. And we choose the associated workspace, which is Thorn. We want to keep this as internal. This is just for your personal use. And then you can add a logo as well. So for example, we're just going to choose this one here. Let this upload. And we are uploaded, and then we just click on save. Great. Now, if we click on configure, we come into a page like this, and you can see we have a few different options. The first thing, which is new, which I want to just point out, is you can see exactly what pages this integration has access to once you've connected them, and you can actually manage them from within here as well. Now, the other thing you can see is the capabilities. Because we have decided to call this one all access, we are giving this all access. If you want to also allow it to read comments and insert comments, you can do that too. Personally, I don't actually use comments that much, so I don't even worry about selecting these. User capabilities, can it read this information? Yes, that is fine. And here we have got our secret key. If we show, you can see here that we can copy this, and we're actually going to come back to copy this in a second. And yes, you're not supposed to show this stuff to other people, but I'm going to be deleting this integration as soon as this video is done, so do not worry. Now that we have this, the next thing, we want to go and actually get the code snippet that we're going to be putting into Claude Desktop, and we add this snippet to that snippet, if that makes sense. So if you just come here to GitHub, again, I'm going to pop this link into the description for quick access. You want to just come and scroll down. And then this is what we are looking for here. We copy this and we then come to Claude Desktop. What we want to do is toggle this here, and you can either come down here and we're just going to go to settings, and we then go to developer. And what you can see is that we are able to edit a config file. So if we click on edit config, this is going to open this up in my Finder here. And we, for now, can just do the simple thing where we open this in text edit. And we paste this in. What you can see here is it says Notion secret key. So we are actually going to replace this with the key that we just made. So if we come back to our Notion integration page here, we copy this. Awesome. We come back to our config file, and we just replace that with our secret key. And then we want to make sure that we hit save. So Command S to save that. Now when we close this, if we are to restart Claude, so if we just quit this and then reopen it, it's going to rescan for that config file. And we will see it actually populate within the settings now as well. Great. Drag that in here. And let's come back to our settings. We have a look. Come down to developer, and you can see that we have a Notion API running. So that is awesome. Back in Notion, if we come here and click on these three dots and we scroll down, we're going to see connections. And what we want to actually see is the YouTube MCP, which we made, which is here. When we confirm again that this is everything we want, great. And as you can see, this page and all of these sub pages are now able to be accessed. So to confirm this is indeed the case, add the following flight confirmation data to the flights database. Cool. And we're going to drag in a travel itinerary, which I've got from a past flight. So this is just a PDF, and we're going to make sure that we have turned off the OAuth system, so we're making sure that it's running through the local MCP server setup. Great. And we're going to fire this off and see what happens. This will cook, and it should pass all of the information that's in that flight document. And what we want to see is a flight pop up in here. So it's not going to be today, it's not going to be this week. In fact, this flight was many months ago. So we're actually going to want to come to our database and just come down here to flights. And what we're looking to see is the flight pop in here. So if we just allow this, always allow, it's going to look for the flights database as we've seen before. It does the search, always allow. Great, so it's found the flight database. Now it's going to add both flights from the confirmation document, because this was indeed a return flight. Great, successfully added the outbound flight. Now let me add the return flight. And I mean, come on guys, imagine you've got several flights to book, you're a tour manager, whatever's going on. You can now just use AI to do this. And obviously what I recommend is you double check things. Wow, the time that has been saved. So it says that it successfully added both flights. As you can see here, we've got the flight 1, the outbound, and we do also have the flight return. So if we just come back to Notion, what we want to see is we do indeed have 2 flights added. The dates are in fact correct. The time is in fact correct. The booking reference is correct. Seat is correct. All of the information is correct. Guys, do you see what's happening here? This is mental. This is actually mental. And for tool managers specifically, this is such an unlock. This is the perfect use case for MCP servers. It's repetitive tasks, it's passing of information, and it's inputting it into Notion. Like, wow. And so you can really use this with any other template or Notion system that you have. This is not only specific to my templates, but for the tour template and for the tasks and for finances and even for the content, this is a massive unlock because these are things that need to be done again and again and again. Personally, I find this to be completely insane. And I'm sure that as the technology develops, it's just going to become better and faster and just more capable as far as things go. So with that, we have reviewed the OAuth system. We have also now reviewed the more granular system using the custom MCP setup on your computer. But with that, if you guys have any other questions or if there's anything I've missed that I need to cover in another video, or if there's something you can teach me about why ChatGPT is not working, please drop a comment, let me know. I'd love to hear from you guys. And with that, I'll see you in the next one.